أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. Please raise the volume. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا أمير المؤمنين، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. A hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, in which he states to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and this hadith is very profound, very deep. If we were to think over it and ponder over it, Rasulullah tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, la ya'rifuka illa Allah wa ana. Oh Ali, no one knows you except Allah and myself. وَلَا يَعْرِفُنِي إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَأَنْتَ. And no one knows me other than Allah and yourself. وَلَا يَعْرِفُ اللَّهَ إِلَّا أَنَا وَأَنْتَ. And no one knows Allah other than you and I. This hadith is very profound, meaning that Amir al-Mu'mineen, most of us don't even know him. We don't comprehend his position. We don't comprehend who he was. For us, we judge him based on the hadith and narrations and the history that reached us. But Ali ibn Abi Talib is much bigger than this. To the point that Rasulullah tells him, no one knows you other than Allah and myself. Everyone else is ignorant of Ali ibn Abi Talib. So, who is better to tell us about Ali ibn Abi Talib other than Allah Azza wa Jal? Who is most unbiased, most truthful, most honest, most accurate, most objective other than Allah Azza wa Jal? And hence tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, we will examine the verses that allude to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Holy Quran. Hadith can be contested. Any hadith we will bring will be told, this is from your sources. We contest your sources. We question your ahadith and your chain of narrators. But can anyone contest the holy book of Allah Azza wa Jal? Can anyone come and tell us this is a weak verse? This verse has not been proven? Absolutely not. The Quran cannot be contested. In fact, we believe that whenever the Quran begins with Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, the first to be addressed with this statement is Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen. O you who believe. Is there any believer at the forefront more than Ali ibn Abi Talib? He was in the front line, at the forefront. Thus, whenever the Quran says Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, Ali ibn Abi Talib is being spoken to and addressed directly, along with other mu'mineen. Those who say Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mentioned in the Quran, is not alluded to in the Quran, this person is either blind or ignorant. Because the Quran that we've read, it's filled with mentions of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And we don't believe in another Quran. We read the same exact Quran that 2 billion Muslims read every day and believe in and practice. But this exact Quran is filled with mentions of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. So let's come tonight in the brief moments that we have to see where and when does the Quran allude to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. First of all, in Surah Al-Mubahala, فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. And the famous incident of Mubahala, Rasulullah is ordered to tell them, come, let's perform Mubahala, ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ. Let's perform Mubahala, let's bring our children and your children. Let's bring our woman and you bring your woman. And let's bring ourselves and you bring yourselves. All ulama agree. All ulama of Islam agree that Rasulullah brought none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatima Az-Zahraa, wal Hassani wal Hossein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now what is interesting is that وَأَبْنَاءَنَا al-Hassan wal-Hussein وَنِسَاءَنَا, although Rasulullah was married and he had wives, he didn't bring any of his wives, he brought Fatima Az-Zahraa. The interesting part is وَأَنفُسَنَا, and we bring ourselves and you bring yourselves, and he brought Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib does not fall in the category of our children nor our women, then he has to fall into the category of ourselves. Thus Ali ibn Abi Talib was the self of Rasulullah. He was one and the same. They were one entity, one and the same, except Amir al-Mu'mineen was not a prophet. He was not a messenger. When Fatima bint Asad, the mother of Amir al-Mu'mineen, when she passed away and she died, the one who buried her was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He went inside her grave as he was putting her in her lahd, in her final resting place. He said a statement that was shocking for everyone. He said, Wallah, innaha ummi allati waladatni. By God, she is the mother that gave me birth. Ajib. We all know that the mother of Rasulullah is Amina bint Wahab. Why is he saying this about Fatima bint Asad? Because she's the mother of Ali ibn Abi Talib. When he says she gave me birth, that means she gave birth to Ali ibn Abi Talib, because they are one and the same. There's no difference between them. And hence Rasulullah would say, Ana wa Ali abawa hadhihi al-ummah. I and Ali are the fathers of this nation. Ana wa Ali min shajaratin wan nasu min shajarin shatta. I and Ali are from one tree and everyone else are from other trees. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And then we have the verse of wilaya. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. Surely your guardian, your authority is Allah and His Messenger and the believers whom believe in Allah and they pray and they perform zakat while in the state of salah. All scholars agree that this verse fits the description of one man and one man only, and that is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. A group of Jews came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and they told him, Ya Rasulullah, proof of your messengerhood, of your message, of your prophecy, of your prophethood, is that you have to have a successor. Because all prophets have successors. Do you have a successor? Allah reveals this verse. إِنَّمَا وَلِيكُمْ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ. Rasulullah said, yes, I do have a successor. And now that this verse has been revealed, let us go to the masjid to see who my successor is. They see a beggar leaving the masjid with a ring. Rasulullah asked him, along with the group of Jews, who gave you this ring? He pointed at Ali ibn Abi Talib and he said, ذَاكَ الْفَتَى الرَّاكِعُ. That young man who's in the state of ruku'. They noticed it was Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. All ulama mention this story. All, even Sunni books of hadith and tafsir regarding this verse, they mention this story. They mention this hadith and this narration, but at the same time they reject the imamah and khilafah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And what is interesting is they say, wali, innama waliyukum Allah. It means your friend. Your friend. Wali is a friend. Ali ibn Abi Talib is your friend. طيب. If Ali ibn Abi Talib is your friend, the verse also says, innama waliyukum Allah. Allah is also your friend. Wa rasuluh. His messenger is also your friend. The verse is just trying to say, he's your friend. It's the same mistake that they committed with the hadith of Al-Ghadir. Man kuntu mawlah, fahada aliyun mawlah. They made the same exact mistake. They said Rasulullah there was trying to say, he's your friend. Here Allah is also trying to say, he's your friend. Does that make sense? And unfortunately, there are some historians that came and tried to discover the value of the ring that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam donated in charity on that day to that beggar. Some say it was worth 1,000 dinars, some say it was worth 1,000 dirhams, and each person came and put a specific number on the ring that Amir al-Mu'mineen donated, and they missed the real point. They missed the real point, that it was not about the value of the ring, it was about the intention. About the intention that Amir al-Mu'mineen, although in the state of salah, he did not let the beggar leave the masjid without someone giving him something. And this is true ibadah. True ibadah is not just an act of worship and an acts of devotion and acts of worship. True ibadah is to help the needy. It's to help the poor. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Have you seen that who rejects faith? Who rejects faith? He who doesn't pray and doesn't fast? No. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ. The one who rejects faith is the one who rejects orphans, denies orphans, doesn't sponsor orphans. That is a rejection of faith. When Amir al-Mu'mineen gave in the state of salah, in the state of ruku', that is ibadah. That itself is an act of devotion, an act of worship. It doesn't matter how much what was the value of the ring. It could have been a dinar. It could have been a dirham. Less than a dinar. But it's the intention that counts. It was the intention of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One of the greatest verses that allude to Amir al-Mu'mineen is the following. وَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَسْتَ مُرْسَلًا. The disbelievers, they say, you're not a prophet. You're not a messenger. قُلْ, tell them, كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ. Tell them that Allah is my witness. If you'd like to reject the fact that I'm a prophet, that I'm a messenger, Allah is my witness. I have Allah as a witness, and there's another witness. Whom? قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ. And my other witness is the one who has knowledge of the book. This is one of the greatest verses for Ali ibn Abi Talib, if not the greatest, because Rasulullah is saying to the disbelievers, if you reject me as a prophet, I don't care, because I have two witnesses, Allah and Ali ibn Abi Talib, the one who has knowledge of the book. Now you might ask me, who says this is Ali ibn Abi Talib? Who says this is Ali ibn Abi Talib? It might be someone else. طيب. At that time, when the verse is revealed, there's no other prophet on the face of this earth other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah is saying, I have two witnesses, Allah and the one who has knowledge of the book. There's no other prophet on earth. Is he speaking about himself? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. Why would he be, how could he be a witness for himself? It has to be a third party. Who is the third party? Tell me anyone other than Ali ibn Abi Talib. Who has the capability and the potential to have knowledge of the book other than Ali ibn Abi Talib? And is this to be taken lightly? The one who has knowledge of the book. Man lahu كفى بالله شهيدا بيني وبينكم ومن عنده علم الكتاب. Ali ibn Abi Talib has knowledge of the book, of the Quran. This is not to be taken lightly. Look at Prophet Sulaiman. Prophet Sulaiman, when he asked for the throne of Bilqis to be brought to him, Prophet Sulaiman is in Palestine. Bilqis is in Yemen. He asked for her throne to be brought to him. One of the jinn, he said, قال عفريت من الجن أنا آتيك به قبل أن تقوم من مقامك. I could bring you the throne before you stand. However, one of the companions of Sulaiman and his disciple and his heir, Asif ibn Barkhia, وقال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك. The one who had some knowledge of the book. Some knowledge of the book. علم من الكتاب. He told him, I can bring you the throne before you blink, before the blink of an eye. Imagine if someone has some knowledge of the book, can bring the throne of Bilqis before the blink of an eye. Imagine what can the one who has knowledge of the book do. And they say that Ali ibn Abi Talib, don't call out to your Imams. Your Imams have no authority. They have no power. If the one who has some knowledge of the book can move thrones across the world, across the globe, what can the one who has knowledge of the book do? And this is what we call al-wilaya takwiniya, the authority over life's rules and regulations. He has wilaya at-takwiniya. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And then of course we have ayatul tathir. إنما يريد الله. Surely Allah wishes. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Allah wishes, surely Allah wishes to purify you, O Ahl al-Bayt, to purify you, to purify you from sins, from impurities. And Imam Ali alayhi salam was one of the Ahl al-Bayt. And the verse is not speaking to the wives of Rasulullah, because it uses a male pronoun, not a female pronoun. If it was speaking to the wives of Rasulullah, it would have used a female pronoun, but it uses a male pronoun. And Amir al-Mu'mineen is one of the Ahl al-Bayt. And that is why he's the greatest Sahaba. He's the greatest Sahaba, not one of the greatest Sahaba, because he's pure, he's immaculate, he's sinless, while all other of the Sahaba, they performed sins. Yes, some of them were good, some of them were righteous, but all of them were sinners. They committed sins like every other human being, except Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Amir al-Mu'mineen was pure and immaculate. You might say, but what is the virtue in being sinless and immaculate when Allah made them this way? إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت. So it was not by choice. It was not voluntary. The Ahl al-Bayt were made into being sinless and immaculate. The answer is no. It was not involuntary. It was not by force. It's very much by choice and by their own decision. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the Ahl al-Bayt immaculate based on tests and examinations. And they passed those tests, and hence they were chosen to be immaculate and to be sinless. And at the end of the day, it's by their choice. In Dua al-Nudba, we recite بعد أن اشترطت عليهم الزهد في درجات هذه الدنيا الدنية وزخرفها وزبرجها فشرطوا لك ذلك. After you made a condition and you set a condition upon them that you will live a life of zuhd in this dunya, a life of simplicity, a life of tragedies, a life of difficulties. وَعَلِمْتَ مِنْهُمُ الْوَفَاءَ بِهِ, and you knew that they will hold true to this condition. فَقَبِلْتَهُمْ وَقَرَّبْتَهُمْ, and then you made them closer to you and you chose them. After you set the condition and you knew that they will hold true to the condition, you made them closer to you. وَقَدَّمْتَ لَهُمُ الذِّكْرَ الْعَلِيِّ, and hence the Ahl Bayt, they were tested a long time ago, and Allah knew that they passed the test and they will hold true to the test and to the conditions. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Also, there are verses that some ulama, not all ulama, some ulama believe that the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib is explicitly mentioned in the Holy Quran. قال هذا صراط علي مستقيم. Or there's another reading, قال هذا صراط علي مستقيم. This is the path of Ali that is strong and steadfast. This is one reading. Some ulama say that this is the word Ali mentioned in the Quran. وَأَنَّهُ فِي أُمِّ الْكِتَابِ لَدَيْنَا لَعَلِيٌّ حَكِيمٌ. He is in the mother of all books. Ali, his name is mentioned. Some ulama say that this is the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib being mentioned in the Holy Quran, while others they contest and they say this is not the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allah mentions the purified homes. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. That is in the purified homes, and homes that have been given permission that the name of Allah is raised. And in those homes, Allah is glorified. يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. At night, in the mornings, during the day, during the night, Allah is glorified in these homes. By whom? Which homes? Which homes? Which men? رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. There are men who are not dissuaded. They will never forget the remembrance of Allah. There is not a business or a business transaction that can make them forget the remembrance of Allah. Which men are these? Other than the Ahlul Bayt and Amir al-Mu'mineen being at the forefront. Allah tells us that when Adam alayhi salam, he ate from the forbidden tree, although he did not commit a sin, he sought forgiveness and he wanted Allah to forgive him for this mistake. Allah teaches Adam how to seek forgiveness, the proper way of seeking forgiveness. Allah teaches Adam special names, the 5 names. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. Adam received certain words, certain names from his Lord, and then Allah forgave him. The hadith tell us that those names are Muhammad wa Ali wa Fatima wal Hasani wal Hossein. And another verse, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. And that is how we made you a moderate nation. Some hadith tell us that ummah is a'imma. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أَئِمَّةً. Of course, this is not a fabrication of the verse. No, it is a deeper understanding, a deeper ta'wil, a deeper meaning to the verse, that we made you the intermediate imams between the Prophet and between the nation. You are intermediaries. You serve as intermediaries between the Prophet and the people. And another verse, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُنذِرٌ وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. You are a warner, Ya Rasulullah, and for every nation there is a guide. Rasulullah would say, أَنَا الْمُنذِرُ وَأَنْتَ الْهَادِ. I am the warner and you are the guide for this nation. And another verse, وَمَا يَعْلَمُ تَأْوِيلَهُ إِلَّا اللَّهُ, in Surah Al-Imran. وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. No one knows the deeper inner meanings of the verses other than Allah. وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Those who have strong knowledge. Who are those who have strong knowledge? Other than the Ahlul Bayt and Amir al-Mu'mineen being at the forefront. And finally, Surah Al-Insan is a chapter revealed about the Ahlul Bayt to show the virtue of Ahlul Bayt. إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ يَشْرَبُونَ مِنْ كَأْسٍ كَانَ مِزَاجُهَا كَافُورًا. When Al-Hassan and Hossein fell ill and their parents had the nadr that if they become fine, we shall fast for 3 days. And indeed they fasted. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Fatimah Az-Zahraa, Al-Hassan and Hossein, they fast for three consecutive days. And we all know the story of the first day. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. The first day, a poor person comes. The second day, an orphan comes. The third day, a captive, a prisoner of war comes to them, and they give all they have. Allah reveals these verses. إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارِ, Allah calls the Ahlul Bayt al-Abrar. يَشْرَبُونَ مِنْ كَأْسٍ كَانَ مِزَاجُهَا كَافُورًا عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا عِبَادُ اللَّهِ يُفَجِّرُونَهَا تَفْجِيرًا. Allah praises the Ahlul Bayt for what they gave on that day and immortalizes this incident. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا. Orphans. Orphans had a special place in the heart of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And that is why in his final will to his sons Al-Hassan and Hussein, he says, Allah fil aytam. Take care of orphans after me. Do not neglect the orphans. Make sure that you take care of them. Because Amir al-Mu'mineen lived a lifetime taking care of orphans. And hence he was known as Abu al-Aytami wal-Aramil, the father of orphans and the father of widows. One night, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was walking in the streets of Kufa. He passed by a house where children were crying. He knocked on the door. The mother came out. He told her, why are your children crying? She said, because they are hungry. They are crying from hunger. He said, why are they hungry? She said, because we don't own any food. He asked, where is their father? She said, he died in a battle. He came inside and he saw that there's a pot on the fire, but the pot is empty. The mother had kept the pot on the fire just to distract the children, just to let them assume that food is being cooked while there is no food. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he ran to his house. He brought them some wheat, dates, food. He brought the products to their house and he told her, Ya Amatallah, either you cook and I play with the children and keep them busy, or I cook and you keep them busy. She told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I will cook and you keep the children busy, but if you can light the fire for me. Amir al-Mu'mineen lit the fire for her. He would bring his face close to the fire and he would say, Ya Ali, dhuq. Children are hungry. There are orphans hungry. Taste this fire, Ya Ali. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen would play with the children. They would ride his back. He would play with them playfully. He would laugh. He would play with the children. Qambar, his servant, he says, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib playing with the children, riding his back. This is the one that broke the door of Khaybar and killed Marhab. Yet look at him, how he plays with the orphans. And another incident, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam passed by a child crying in one of the streets of Kufa. Amir al-Mu'mineen embraced him. He comforted him. He asked him, why are you crying? He said, all the other children, they refuse to play with me. They tell me, you're an orphan. You don't have a father. And that is why they refuse to play with me. Amir al-Mu'mineen sat down and he began to cry and wail like a widow, as if losing his own child. Amir al-Mu'mineen gave him money. He told him, go and play. And if the children ask you, who is your father? Tell him that Ali ibn Abi Talib is my father. Now, on the eve of the 21st of Ramadan, Amir al-Mu'mineen is surrounded by his children, by Al-Hassan, Wal-Hussein, and Zainab, and Al-Kulthum, and Abil Fadl Abbas, they're all gathered around. As I mentioned yesterday, Al-Asbagh ibn Nubata, he enters and he sees Amir al-Mu'mineen wearing a yellow turban, and the face of Amir al-Mu'mineen had turned yellow. He says, I don't know which one is more yellow, his face, his blessed face, or his turban. All people gather around, his followers, his supporters, they gather around Amir al-Mu'mineen. And Amir al-Mu'mineen would say, Saluni qabla an tafquduni wa khaffifu su'alakum li musibati imamikum. Ask me before you lose me, but shorten your questions for the tragedy of your Imam. Take it easy on your Imam. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah says, لما كانت 21 وأظلم الليل جمع أبي أولاده وأهل بيته وودعهم ثم قال لهم الله خليفتي عليكم وهو حسبي ونعم الوكيل. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah says that on the eve of the 21st of Ramadan, my father gathered his children, his immediate family members, and he said farewell, and he said, Allah will look after you after me. وأوصى الجميع بلزوم الإيمان والأديان والأحكام التي أوصى بها رسول الله. And he told them to hold strongly to your faith and to your religion. وجعل جبينه يرشح عرقا وهو يمسحه بيده. And his forehead began to sweat. He would remove the sweat from his forehead. And he said, أبتاه أراك تمسح جبينك. My father, I see you wiping the sweat off your forehead. فقال يا بني إني سمعت رسول الله يقول أن المؤمن إذا نزل به الموت ودنت وفاته عرق جبينه. He told him, my father, I see you removing the sweat from your forehead. He said, my son, I heard my beloved Rasulullah say that when a mu'min is about to die, his forehead will begin to sweat. ثم قال أحسن الله لكم العزاء ألا وإني منصرف عنكم وراحل في ليلتي هذه ولاحق بحبيبي محمد كما وعدني. He told him, I am leaving you tonight and I am going towards my beloved Rasulullah as he has promised. فإذا أنا مت فغسلني وكفني وحنطني ببقية حنوط جدك رسول الله. My son Hassan, when I die, wash me, shroud me, and put on hunta for me from fadli hanut Rasulullah, from what is left from the hanut of Rasulullah. ثم قال, and then he said, يا أبا محمد ويا أبا عبد الله, my sons Al-Hasan wal-Hussein, اصبرا, be patient, حتى يحكم الله وهو خير الحاكمين, and until Allah rules for you what is best. Meaning, my sons, you will see tragedies after me. You will fall into tragedies after me. Be patient. ثم قال يا أبا عبد الله. He turned towards his son Hossein. He said, Oh Aba Abdullah, أنت شهيد هذه الأمة. You're the martyr of this nation. فعليك بتقوى الله والصبر على بلائه. Be patient, my dear son. Hussein. In another narration, Zainab came to her father. She told him, my father, Ayman, has told me about a story, the story of Karbala, and I want to hear this from you. And she told me about coming to Kufa after Karbala. Is this true? قال نعم بني. Yes, this is true. It's as if I see you coming after the day of Ashura from Karbala, coming into this city as captives. My dear daughter, be patient. ثم أغمي عليه ساعة. And then he fainted for a while. وأفاق وقال هذا رسول الله. This is Rasulullah in front of me. After he gained consciousness, he said, this is Rasulullah. وعمي حمزة, and my uncle Hamza, and my brother Ja'far, and the companions of Rasulullah. وكلهم يقول عجل قدومك علينا. And they're all saying, rush to us, Ya Ali, فإنا مشتاقون. We are missing you, Ya Ali, come to us. ثم قال أستودعكم الله جميعا. He said, I bid you all farewell. Allah خليفتي عليكم وكفى بالله خليفة. Allah will look after you, after me. ثم قال وعليكم السلام يا رسل ربي. And he said, oh the messengers of my Lord, peace be upon you. And then he pointed towards him and he said, فلمثل هذا فليعمل العاملون. The good doers should work towards this place. He pointed at his place in heaven and paradise. أن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون. And he kept on sweating. وهو يذكر الله. His tongue did not stop from the remembrance of Allah. And then he said, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. He faced the Qibla. He extended his hands and his feet. And he closes his eyes. And his soul departed his body. Everyone shout, Ya Ali, Ya Shaheed, Ya Madloom. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا شملا إلا جمعته ولا مرضا إلا شفيته ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات. أحسن الله إليكم. Thank you.